Alright, now we'll be starting Picross, and I'm going to be unplugging my GameCube controller so I don't accidentally nudge it. Let's go. So, this game is a puzzle game, but I have memorized the solutions to the puzzles, so it's not very puzzling anymore. And we start out with some 10 by 10 levels, and then there will be 2 pages which are a little bit larger. Hopefully I won't mess up too much on any of them.
Yeah, so this game has a lot of names. Picross, Nonogram, or paint by number, like picture, paint by picture, I think. Paint by number. And you have these numbers at the top and on the left for the column and rows to, you know, to give you teach you how to solve the puzzle. But it's way faster to have everything memorized, like Anno said. And he does have some notes if things don't go well, but he has pretty much everything memorized. It's just like the last couple of levels that are a bit tricky, but we'll be fine.
That is not how an eye goes. Alright. We're almost done with the first row already. A lot of the speedrunning community for this game is focused on ILs, individual levels, and most of this first page of levels can be completed in like 3 or 4 seconds, which is pretty impressive. I don't have any records on the first page, but I do have some on the other 2 pages. I have messed up. There we go.
Yeah, it's a pretty small community for this game. But a couple of Twilight Princess runners decided to start playing this recently.
Yeah, I originally ran this game as an April Fool's joke. So, those can work sometimes, I guess.
So to explain how this game works, let's say you have a 10 by 10 board, and you see the numbers 7 and 2. That means that, and then the order matters, so that means that you need to have, let's say it's a row. So you have 7 filled out squares in a row, and then you need to have at least 1 space for the next 2, otherwise it will be 9. And so if you just add these numbers together, 7 plus 2, there's 9, and there's also the space in between, there's 10, so you have one row filled out. So ideally, when you play this game casually, you would try to find the biggest numbers, or like the biggest sum of numbers, and then for the numbers, for the spaces where you don't fill in, you can add a little X, which will indicate that you cannot place a number there, which could help for a column or another row later on. So that's kind of how you play Picross.
Yeah, I won't be using the X's because they're slow. I'll just be filling in the correct things the first try, hopefully. There is a mode in this game which will like deduct 2 minutes for every mistake you make. A lot of these games have some sort of mechanism for if you mess up, like hearts on a mobile game and you have a limited number of lives. This one, it just has the timer, and if you fail to finish a level in under 60 minutes according to the in-game timer, then the only consequence is it won't show you the full color picture at the end of the level. I don't think we should be running into that problem today.
Yeah, when I looked at getting this game on my phone recently, I looked through like 3 of them until I found one that I liked. Some of them had some penalty, like hearts, like Anna mentioned. And I prefer to just be penalized by time instead, and just take my time and just enjoy myself playing this. It is a pretty fun puzzle game. I do recommend giving it a try.
Very relaxing. I'm not sure if this game is available anymore now that the Nintendo eShop has closed, but it was a My Nintendo reward, at the very least. So just a certain number of My Nintendo points would get you this game. If you have it, feel free to start running it. We need more runners.
Please.
I'm quite fond of the next level, which is the last level of the 10 by 10s. Then we'll be moving over to 15 by 15. but this level's pretty fun.
It's also worth noting that Anorakkis is playing on a regular 3DS. The 3DS has many iterations. You have the 3DS, the 3DS XL, the new 3DS, the new 3DS XL, and maybe something in between there that I missed. Ideally, you would probably want to play on a 3DS XL or a new 3DS XL, so just you have the bigger screen to work with. 15 by 15 gets pretty small on that bottom screen, so it's not really possible to go much further beyond that. Like 20 by 20 or 30 by 30 would just be way too small. Although we do have, I believe, 20 by 15.
Yeah, 20 by 15 later.
Yeah.
The last 5 levels of the main game are 20 by 15.
Which makes it a lot easier to misclick or mistap, I suppose. So as you've noticed, we're drawing images from the game, characters, locations, etc. And we also have this nice background music, whereas the games that I came across on my phone didn't have any background music, so it's nice to have a little bit of ambient noise, and it's all music from this game, of course, from Twilight Princess. As well as the sound effect of grass getting cut, I think.
Yeah, I think that's what it is. So most of these 15 by 15 levels, I'm just aiming to have under 20 seconds is pretty good. The records are usually a bit lower, but they're after many hours of attempts and are rough to beat usually. But a 17-second Postman is not bad at all.
Could also take this time to talk about low percent, what that really means, and sort of like where it started and where it went. So, an old TP speedrunner named Zaf pitched the idea to me in 2013 that it would be really cool to see a low percent speedrun of TP, as he had just, recently discovered low percent of Ocarina of Time and other Zelda games. And so we were just talking about that over Skype, probably. And we just opened up Pastebin and started routing it. And then I ran it on his birthday in 2013 and 2014. But the route wasn't like super interesting to be like it was very similar to any percent. You just avoided a few more things. But in, I believe, 2015, December. Yeah, there you go. It changed quite a lot with a new technique. What you're seeing on the screen now.
Yeah, 2 different runners discovered this technique of pickup sliding right around the same time, Chocoimo and Zelu. And we found practical applications of it, and we're still learning more things about it as time goes on.
Yeah, so we're going to be using the pickup slide to skip a few things, most notably pose souls later on. Right now it's just skipping a small key here in Pharaon. And so the run went from... It was just under 4 hours when I ran it in 2013, 2014. It was just any percent, but a bit longer. So any percent would have been sitting at around 320 at that time. And then it went all the way up to past 24 hours with the first few runs of the pickup slide routes.
Yeah, 28 hours by Taka was the first run with the pickup slide route. And then I started running and took the record down to about 25 hours. Then left for a while, and more things were found, and we did more research into the pickup slides themselves, and got the rundown to where it is today at 14 hours.
Yeah, there's a very infamous video on TP low percent that you may have seen, and that was with a previous route.
So that was the easiest 15 by 15 level, the Master Sword, and The record is 5 seconds, which is the fastest record of all of the 15 by 15 levels. I obviously messed up a little bit there, so didn't get that fast. That's not right. This game takes a lot of focus.
Yeah, the memorization here is pretty wild, pretty crazy.
Okay, there we go.
Like that image right there in Skull Kid. Although you do like Skull Kid quite a lot, so I think you got that one pretty well memorized.
Yeah, I practiced the Skull Kid level a lot because originally I didn't like it, but with a lot of practice, it's not that bad. I might have messed up a little bit already on this level. We'll see later. I do have the hints on the sides, which will tell me if a row is completed by just going into the lighter gray.
There's
and
also...
It looks like everything was fine there.
You can also have it so, maybe not in this game, but like in Picross games in general, you can have it so if you try to do something that is not possible by the game rules, you can get a red outline around the row or column you're working on. So things like that can be really helpful when you're playing this game casually. Otherwise, both speedrunning too. Having them automatically grayed out, like just mentioned, and red outline. And also, when you get to 15 by 15, at least the game that I have on my phone, it says if there's like some really obvious ones, like there's just 15 by a row or a column, it asks me if it will just auto-fill out those 15 squares, or if it wants me to do it.
This game has a feature which is banned in speedruns called Hint Roulette, where it'll just fill out an entire row or column at the start of the level. We don't use it because that's cheap.
Anorakkis is also not using the original 3DS stylus, because that stylus is pretty small, so doing this after an hour, you might get some hand pain. So he has made sure to get a proper stylus.
Yeah, the first time I ran this game, back for that April Fool's joke, I got some pretty bad wrist pain, so definitely take care of your wrists. If you want to run this game, be sure to stretch them. It's a very important thing.
Before and after. Ideally.
I went a little wide and a little short. What did I do wrong?
Well, that one is supposed to be a 6.
There it is. Alright. Little mess up there. I was feeling pretty confident of this in practice, but I guess things are a little different on the main stage.
It can be a little bit difficult to make out what the image is until it's complete when the colors come in. Something that I also noticed for just playing it on a generic game on my phone is that I'm looking at the pixel art and I'm like, oh, okay, I guess that is a, something. It's very simplified pixel art, but you can only do so much with 10 by 10 or 15 by 15. And some of the images here are, pretty well detailed for pixel art, I would say.
Yeah, they're generally pretty good. That's the second page completed, just 15 more levels in this main mode. This level, of course, being our trusty horse, Epona. And then we go to something that is not a horse, the Gorons next. You might notice I am playing with all of these levels already finished. I have all of them outlined on the level select, and that's just another thing that's allowed for probably preserving your records on your file. Just having them all completed. It makes no difference in the gameplay.
And in terms of loading times, I think you do save a little bit of time playing on the latest 3DS. Anorakkis is playing on one of the first 3DS that came out, so potential like time save of a few seconds over the course of the full run. But it's most noticeable in the beginning. The later, especially like the last section, have all the puzzles kind of loaded, and you just kind of zoom in and out. But we'll get there when we get there.
That last level was a good example of diagonals. Diagonals are really hard in this game. I try to avoid them whenever I can, because the game tries to snap to just a straight line whenever it can. So in the previous level, I just did like squiggles instead of a full diagonal.
This one is pretty cute.
Yeah, I like this level. It's a nice, like, school yearbook photo of this Shadow Beast. Very cute.
You can see a 10 there, so that one will just be easy to fill out. Generally, what do you look for? Finding those big numbers right away when playing casually, but trying to actually play this game by just solving it regularly, by just looking at the numbers, would be very slow compared to what Anorakkis is doing.
I finished that level with erasing a block. That does finish the level slightly faster, but it finishes like 10 frames faster for some reason. But really hard for me personally to route in the erasing strats. It just doesn't work with my brain, so I try to avoid those whenever I can.
Speaking of racing, that would be cool to see a full game race between you and Simikins, maybe.
Yeah, Simikin's another good runner of this game, and Twilight Princess itself has most of the IL records at this point.
I suppose the joke is that this is Twilight Princess. When people think of TP, this is it. Because when you right-click Live Split, go into Edit Game, the first thing that pops up when you type in Twilight Princess is this game.
Yeah, my Nintendo Picross, The Legend of Zelda Twilight Princess. It's just sooner alphabetically, so that's the default one.
Yeah, and this is one of the spin-off games of Twilight Princess. You also have Link's crossbow training, which we will, unfortunately, or fortunately, depending on how I look at it, will not be playing.
I'm sure Link's crossbow training is a great game.
I've never played it myself. Have you?
No, I haven't.
It would also be too short for this slide. You could play it twice. So another spin-off games that require precision. So it seems like the TP spin-off games just are precise aim-based games. This one is pretty funny because it's not obvious right away what it is if you miss the select from the main menu, but like suddenly there's a Zant jump scare.
Yeah, we saved the eyes for last, and bam, it's Zant. Then we go to the final boss of Twilight Princess, Ganondorf. Not the final boss of my Nintendo Picross, The Legend of Zelda Twilight Princess, though this level is rather difficult to memorize.
And when it comes to memorizing Ganondorf in the main game, it is pretty easy to memorize, as that fight is very easy.
Yeah, the final fight against Ganondorf, which we'll be doing in roughly 14 hours, is the fastest fight in the game. The fastest boss fight. Now we get onto the 20 by 15 levels. There are just 5 of these, and a good time for these is also just under 20 seconds. I probably won't be getting that time on these, though.
See that satisfying row just doing that 20 at the bottom.
24-second sumo, not bad. Sumo wrestling being one of the first things that comes after the rupee slide that we're seeing on the main game right now.
Yeah, the wrestling is it's pretty bad. Most categories of Twilight Princess encounter wrestling very early on, which is a good thing if you think about it, because you can get it over with quickly, and if it goes foul, you can just reset. But yeah, I'm not quite sure why they made it so difficult, because you gotta make sure, at least for one cycling, you gotta mash really quickly to defeat Bo, the mayor of Orlan Village.
This is one of my favorite levels with the spinner. Very satisfyingly symmetrical. I don't know if symmetrical was the right word there, because it has these weird things right here that are definitely not symmetrical.
Mostly symmetrical.
But that ending is pretty nice. 2 more levels in the main Picross category, and then we get to do them all again. But we'll get to that in a few minutes.
Yeah, just a reminder, we are doing this while waiting for the pickup slide to finish. It takes a little bit over an hour, so this is quite nice because it is just about an hour as well. Your PB being 105, I think?
Yeah, my PB for the category I'm running right now, any percent, is a 105 something. I'm not actually sure what the seconds are. I got it right before ESA. Alright, here we have the last level of the main Picross, which is Hyrule Castle itself. That was not quite right. And there that is. We're done with the main Picross levels themselves. Now we get to do it again in a mode which is called Mega Picross, which is nearly identical to normal Picross. The only difference is that sometimes it groups the rows into 2 instead of just doing 1. But the levels are identical, so because I basically don't look at the numbers anyway, we can just keep going.
Another interesting difference is that it's laggier.
Yeah, somehow they've made a Picross game laggy. I'm not sure how they did that. But you'll notice a bit more in the 15x15 levels that it does get a bit laggy, and hopefully doesn't mess me up a lot.
Yeah, so now we have different background music as well as different sound effects for...
That was nearly a really good level.
Nice.
That last swoop at the end is tough to get correctly. There is one more mode I'll be doing after this, which is called Micross. I haven't actually memorized the levels of Micross, but hopefully it won't take us too long. We'll be able to get back to the main Twilight Princess for the Nintendo GameCube on time.
And not for 3DS. Another thing about the pickup slide is that you don't actually need Link to be fully behind the thing he wants to clip through for it to work. The collision check is really far like behind him, so since he's wearing a shield, once the shield disappears, we don't have to wait much longer to be able to phase through the gate. Luckily, if his like nose was the final, or actually in this case his fingertips, I suppose, had collision, then this slide would be much longer.
Yeah, a visual cue you can use for that is when Link's earring, that little blue circle on his ear, when that clips is right around the time we'll be pressing A to end the slide.
can't even imagine how long the post slide would be if it was a different hitbox detection.
Oh yeah, it would be many times as long. Many times too long for ESA.
The whole marathon, like, will take a whole week.
I have run this in a different marathon before. I did run this at the really, really longathon last year. That was a jam. We were just vibing during the slide. It had like the DVD logo bouncing in the corner. It was a fun time.
No Picross though.
No Picross.
So the vibes weren't perfect. They were good, but could have been better. Yeah, TP does have its fair share of long categories, obviously with this one, but also 100% plus, as 100% gets stuff on the equipment screen, item wheel, etc. But it doesn't open every chest or fill out every map piece. So some runners wanted to play the game a little bit more, get some more stuff completed, and decide on a rule set that feels more complete, such as filling out the fishing log, and that takes a while.
Yeah, fishing in that run is a big RNG part. Fortunately, the RNG in low percent isn't too bad past the blue rupee that we've already seen the RNG for.
Yeah, I would say we got a little bit unlucky with the start of this run.
Yeah, it was a third try, which isn't awful.
So surely that means we'll get first try on the post skip. Well, yeah, post slide later.
Yeah. And after the post slide comes Stallard Skip, which all of your donations met that incentive. We won't see that for another 12 or 13 hours, so hang tight for that.
Yeah, and the setup for the post slide later is a little bit more complex. I think it's a little cooler than this one.
Yeah, we have a bit more to work off of with the post slide.
We also have a consistent rupee.
Yeah.
A nice smiling Hylian shield.
Yeah. That's page 1 of Mega Picross done, and now we get to see the Master Sword again. Let's see if we can get that 6 or 5 seconds. Probably not, especially because of that lag spike. As I mentioned, with the 15 by 15 levels, you do see it lag a little bit more. But getting a 7-second Master Sword really isn't bad.
We still haven't really talked about what's at the top of the screen in the main game. We have position coordinates so that we can easily determine if we've moved far enough and if we're going in the right direction and what speed we have, etc.
Oh yeah, that's not part of the main game. We're cheating, but that cheat is allowed on the leaderboards to just display the coordinates for ease of
sanity,
knowing when you're going to clip.
Yeah.
It used to be a lot more relevant before we had the setups.
Yeah, Anorakkis has done a lot of great work for making these slides more consistent. And I believe TGD has also contributed to some of the setups.
Link1183.
Link, yeah.
Who held the record a bit before, also a really good runner, did some other work on the post slide specifically to come up with a better setup than I could come up with. So we'll be seeing that.
Yeah, it was really interesting to read the Discord and see that, you know, the topic of discussion was optimizing low percent slides in the extended categories channel.
Yeah, the community for Twilight Princess is really extensive, and there are lots of categories that get run. This is on the extension category boards, which have a few more very interesting categories. I have run every category in Twilight Princess, except for the ones that I haven't run, which are just like 3 of them that were added later. Do we have any messages that could be read?
Well, I would like to just mention that we are here collecting money for Alzheimerfonden, funding research into Alzheimer's disease, and hopefully eventually getting us to a state where we can maybe get rid of this completely. That would be an amazing thing. So let's get some of those donations in. We also have a couple of donation incentives and bid wars going on. So let me pull up a few things going on. So for example, there is a Final Fantasy run coming up where there are a couple of different characters that you can name. So if you want to vote for one of the current suggestions or submit your own, check that out. And there is also other ways to support the charity. So apart from the donations, we have our special edition shirt that we're selling at speedrun.store, where $8 of every sale will also go to the charity. Additionally, all of your subs and bits during this marathon will also go to Alzheimerfonden. So you have a couple of different options to support the charity. So yeah, keep them coming.
Thank you. Yeah, very great cause, Alzheimerfonden, that they've chosen to raise money for. Getting right along in these extra Picross stages, we have a few more. Which level is this? I wasn't paying attention. Alright, Gale Boomerang.
Thought that was Link slashing for a second, but it wasn't the boomerang indeed.
Gale Boomerang, a very important item in the main game of Twilight Princess, lets us move a lot faster. Dude jumps over gaps, I guess. We'll be getting that in a bit.
Yeah, luckily it is the first dungeon item, as it has so much utility that we get it early on. And the Wii version of this game cannot utilize boomerang long jump attacks, unfortunately. So that is like the main difference between GameCube and Wii runs. So we're playing the GameCube game, but running it on a Wii console, which is a very common configuration, as the Wii is just an amazing console. Much easier to get HD equipment for as well. Still possible to get lots of great quality out of the GameCube, but it tends to be a bit pricier.
Actually, we're playing the 3DS game right now.
Yeah, sorry.
3DS version of Twilight Princess, very high quality, very laggy. The GameCube version is also a little bit laggy sometimes. The Wii speedrun is actually really cool. Just doesn't get quite as much love because of the lack of some long jump attacks with the boomerang.
Though it does have some unique glitches that GameCube doesn't have. My favorite being the Iron Boots glitch that you can do in Goramine's RTA. Another, well, you can do it in Goramine's, but in that category it saves a lot of time.
Yeah, you can just walk on the ceilings without the iron boots in the Wii version, which is very satisfying. Messing up a little bit on Elia there. That's one of the levels that I worry about. It's very complex, and apparently I'm doing it again. Just a misclick right there.
Gotta practice. Something that's pretty common with like details is like checkerboard, like chessboard, like image that you can see in the corners now. We're just adding a little bit of detail to a pixel art drawing.
Yeah, symmetry is also usually a thing. It's usually not diagonally symmetrical like that level is, but some pretty common Picross patterns are horizontally symmetrical. At least in the game on my phone. Now we're going through the Sky Cannon again.
Now the Sky Cannon will be pretty interesting in the run of the main game. We have some shenanigans we can do with this, with things surrounding the Sky Cannon when we get there.
So that's page 2 done of Mega Picross. One more page to go until we get to Micross, which we will talk about when we get there. Actually, it might be a good idea to talk about now because I'm going to have to be focusing a lot during Micross. I haven't memorized the levels, I'm just going to be reading them off of some cards that I have prepared. Micross is just a collection of levels that form to make a big picture, so none of the levels actually have much pattern in and of themselves. And it's 57 levels, which I did not feel like memorizing.
I don't blame you.
That would have been quite a lot to work through.
Yeah, some of the levels have just like, 11 squares filled out or something like that. We'll see one that I think is my favorite that you showed me yesterday.
Yeah, it's B5 if you look at it like a grid. But we'll see that in a bit. Now we get to go to the cute Shadow Beast again.
This time with lag. Got that checker symmetry thing at the top and at the bottom.
"17 seconds is really good. I think the record for that level is something like 14 seconds.
It's crazy to see how fast people go in the aisles.
Postman is the level we're doing right now. The only level that is actually different in Mega Picross compared to normal Picross in this game. I don't know why they changed it, but there is an extra block right there.
Yeah, when you're watching IL records for this game, especially for a complex image, it just kind of looks like a TAS. And the reset count is probably very, very high.
Oh yeah, it is. I've spent probably 3 hours on a single level in one session before. For something that takes less than 20 seconds, it's kind of sad.
That's speedrunning for you. The real grind.
Now just 20 levels left. We're back to Skull Kid, which, as I said, I like this level.
It is
pretty satisfying.
He's got a very nice smile. He's very smug about it.
I put that squiggle in the wrong place. There we go.
The design of Skull Kid is like a mix of, Skull Kid from N64 Zeldas, but also the moon in Majora's Mask is like his face. It's a very nice detail.
I feel like the levels in Mega Picross follow a more logical progression for the game. I don't know why, but it starts with the easier levels and progressively gets a little bit more difficult. And the last few levels are like, it ends in a pretty iconic level of Link and stuff.
Now we can see that Link's hat has started to clip through the gate behind him. And the shield will soon follow. So whenever Anorakkis submits his PBs of this category, Twilight Princess Low %, not my Nintendo Picross Legend of Zelda Twilight Princess for the Nintendo 3DS, he likes to include an additional video that has the slides sped up, which is really satisfying to watch. Probably takes a while to render those videos. but it's worth it.
Yeah, the slide in Arbiter's Grounds, which we'll be doing later, I usually speed up to like 580 times because we move that slow.
Yeah, people like to go in and out of his stream and just see how far Link has slid. And I'm actually quite surprised to see the chat activity during the slides. It's fun to read back on. People have a nice cozy time in there during those really long ones, like the 9-hour slide.
Yeah, it's an interesting run because you kind of have to plan your day around it. Some runners prefer to run it while, like, have the long slide going while they're sleeping. That was not quite right. I once went to a wedding during a low percent speedrun. That was fancy. You have 9 hours and 40 minutes. You can just do whatever. You can go to work.
It was really great seeing you starting that stream in a suit. More speedruns should start that way. More PB videos should start with the runner being in a suit.
Yeah.
And also, there's one PB where you...
Oh, that is a new IL world record for that level.
Oh, let's go!
By 1 second.
That came out of nowhere.
Yeah, that level was one that I didn't bother optimizing really well. Could definitely be a little bit better. Yeah, the previous record was 18 seconds by... I can't remember their name. It starts with a B, though.
Luckily, there's not that long of a username list to scroll through, so I think you'll find that person pretty quickly when you check on speedrun.com. But yeah, I was saying, there's also one PB that you have in, I believe, Four Swords, Legend of Zelda Four Swords, where in the background you have the Poe pickup slide going on in the background. So I can't imagine what the verifier of that game thought when they clicked on your run and saw that in the background.
Yeah, Four Swords. I need to go back and get a better PB in that game. It's a really fun game. Also a pretty small Zelda community. Most of Zelda speedruns are really cool people and really chill games. For a while, my All Dungeons PB in Twilight Princess was also during a rupee slide. In my first run ever of low percent, which was 31 hours long, I was pretty dead at the end of it.
Yeah.
We have one more level in Mega Picross, and then we'll be going to Micross. If you look at the rupee slide going on right now, the coordinates in the top will be... you know, I'd have to look to tell you what they'll be at the end of the slide. It ends in 83.5. When I'll actually be able to press A and clip through the fence.
There's also something called early A press, which I'm not sure if it exists for this slide.
It does exist for this slide. It saves 40 seconds. You can press A 40 seconds early and potentially kill your run. Alright, that's it for Mega Picross. Now we go to Micross. And we'll be starting right into it by making the grid. So now I have a grid of 57 levels to work through. And I will not be talking much for these because I need to be referencing my notes for it.
Yeah, so as you can tell, we have different background music again. So for the three main sections of this run, the three categories that it's gone through, this being the last one, you get different background music, you get different sound effects. This one is like sort of a Ganondorf's Tower theme. Not sure which exact version. I know Wind Waker uses this. I think it's originally from A Link to the Past. I might be wrong about that though. It's a very, very nice theme. And it makes sense as we're like making our way to the end of the game. And we have Ganondorf's ominous music playing.
Hey, Anorakkis.
Yes.
I have some more rupees here. Sorry, donations here. We have time for some messages.
Yes, we do.
Absolutely. So, Mortified the Penguin donates $25 with the message, can anyone explain why there's a Twilight Princess game window running alongside the 14-hour Picross stream?
Absolutely, yeah. We're doing a pickup slide, and Link is moving backwards very, very slowly over time. This slide takes a bit over an hour, and at one point his collision will be past the fence here, so we can turn around and just phase through it.
Yeah, this game doesn't quite have enough content to be playing for 14 hours straight. There's a big L right there. But then we go to the next level, which is actually just a big L.
There we go. That's my favorite. Besides Skull Kid. Yeah, so there's a missing frame in the animation of Link being in the get item state, so he is moving very, very slowly in a direction, and we set up the angle, did a precise setup at the beginning to make sure we get the angle that we want, so we're moving in the correct direction. And luckily, the gate does not need to be in front of Link to clip. So you can see that his shield is phased through, his hat is like halfway through. So you can try this at home. I recommend trying one of the setups so you can actually make sure that you have good speed. But being in like any get item state and then just leaving your console running, you can go to sleep like on the next day and hopefully Link will have moved. It would be really, really useful in Twilight Princess HD if it was fast, because early Master Sword is patched in that game. So what we can do is do a pickup slide on seeds for like slingshot seeds to phase through an invisible wall, or multiple, I'm not sure how many they put up there, in North Faron. So if there was a way to do that quickly, the HD version could also do early Master Sword, which would be really, really good.
Yeah, there's a video of the whole process to get early Master Sword and TPHD, and it is quite funky. I do have the Micross world record as well. I have actually all of the full game world records for this game, though I think it isn't verified yet. Anyway. This ideally would be roughly 12 minutes. We'll see how close to that I can get, and especially if I can get it before we need to finish the slide up.
Yeah, if we have some more donations to read, that would be a good time.
Absolutely. We do have a donation here from Ernst donating $20 and saying, earlier this day, I donated 20 and said I donate another 20 if someone can explain why we never have C64 games in the marathon. But immediately afterwards, work struck hard and I couldn't follow the stream any longer. So I just assumed the question was answered here. Here's another $20. Now, let's stare at some rupees together. Good luck for the Twilight Princess run. Thank you, Ernst.
Thank you, Ernst.
And that also went to naming the Final Fantasy character Amaranth Steiner instead.
That was satisfying at the end there.
Yeah, when you can just fill in a bunch of rows at the same time, it's very nice.
It is a pretty famous image that's being drawn here with all of these puzzles. Whenever we zoom out, you might be able to tell what it is now, if you have a keen eye.
This level has a lot of diagonals, which are very difficult. but didn't give me
Nice.
much trouble there. Very nice.
Can start to make out the Hylian shield there, which is pretty complex. Yeah, and sometimes a rower column will just have a 0 if there's nothing. I do recommend people at home to try this game. It is one of the more interesting phone games that I've tried.
There we go. Ooh, big diagonal on the next one. That's what can happen with diagonals, just snapping over to wherever it feels.
Yeah, at least there's no more latency in this final mode.
Oh, I forgot an entire section. Cool. Okay.
You got 2 10s there, but as you can see, Anorakkis is filling them out. Well, this one he says that he doesn't have fully memorized, but you know, in the previous ones, you would follow the pattern that he has memorized, so he would, instead of just going straight to the easy one. And I assume if you start doing things out of order, then you can mess up muscle memory for the plan route of each puzzle.
Very satisfying level there.
Link's ear is about to clip.
We're halfway through Micross now, with a 519 so far.
I believe this slide doesn't have the bopping up and down, but the pose slide has that, which is very interesting. We'll see that in about 13 hours.
Yeah, this slide, there isn't a great visual cue for when we end, apart from the earring, and even that's not a very good visual cue. The coordinates sheet that we are using is just the best way to tell.
Getting past the Hylian shield now. Some of the later ones here will be a bit quicker, because we don't have to fill out what's the background image, so... Like we saw with that L earlier, just having the white background and just barely filling out any squares. Or I suppose a gray background.
There we go. Hope that was right.
I can't really I can't really undersell like how impressive it is to memorize this much. Like this is the only thing that like he hasn't memorized fully, but like all the previous things that he's done up until this point is in his head, and it's very impressive.
Yeah, I only really started practicing this game when Low Percent got accepted into ESA, so this is only about a month's worth of effort.
That's really nice.
Pretty quick to pick up this game. Ooh, the music changed there.
Now we're getting serious.
Last 3 rows.
Big contrast between the last one and this one.
That wasn't right. There. Okay. Where am I going? Go. Some of these levels a little bit more difficult than others, because it's all going to form a big image. As Skyrion said, we don't have to fill out all of the background, and so at that level, just a simple lambda is not too bad. This level also not too bad.
This trick is often called rupee slide, but it's technically just a pickup slide. It works on any item where Link is in that get item state, but rupees are very common to come by. An interesting difference between the SD versions of Twilight Princess versus the HD version, so the GameCube and Wii versions versus the Wii U version, is that on the Wii U version, when you get an item text for a rupee, like a blue rupee, you only get that once ever in that playthrough. Whereas in the GameCube and Wii versions, if you save the game and reload, that flag gets unset so you can get the item text again. Which is actually really important for a fair amount of categories, because we actually use this get item state specifically with rupees for other tricks and not just pickup slides. The most infamous one, besides this one, being skipping the Kakariko Gorge using a rupee to stop Link's momentum, so we can do what's called a rupee roll, rolling past the gate and sliding down onto the other side of the, or not gate, fence, I mean. And the discovery of using a rupee to stop Link's momentum changed the routing for any percent. We knew that it was still possible to skip the gorge by getting across the fence, but we used to do what we have called a zombie hover, as is very similar to like the pressing of B in the Wind Waker. Although in that game, to zombie hover, which is what that trick is actually called, you would have to press it much more quicker. But you would do quote-unquote zombie hover in TP for a little bit over a minute, I think. And every time you press B to do a jump slash, you would go further along the fence until you reach a certain point where you can go over the fence. And the rupee roll saved a lot of time over that, because you just close the item box and then input a control stick direction to roll from a standstill and then get across like that. So it's very fortunate that we can reset the get item state for rupees by just saving and reloading the game.
Okay, 5 units left, it looks like, on the rupee slide. The units in-game are very, very small. I don't know if it corresponds to pixels or not, but very small units.
Yeah, like, we, as much as probably other communities also like to say, it's pixel perfect, whereas in reality, using pixel can be finicky. Angles in TP range from 0 to, I believe, 65,000. So saying that something is pixel perfect when you're aiming, for instance, it's just like a conventional thing to say, but...
Yeah, the game doesn't actually have enough resolution to display as many angle values as we have. So, like, every 8 angles visually looks the same, roughly, in the game.
Yeah, we'll be seeing a trick later on in the run where that comes into play. We refer to something as having 1 or 2 pixels to work with. That's just the measurement of where we can see the angle change visually, but in reality, there's a lot more angles than that. Really ramping up with the music now. We're at the final row, it looks like.
Yeah, final row, just 5 levels left, I believe. 5 levels.
Oh yeah, so the early A press that we talked about earlier, how you can save potentially 40 seconds by doing an early A press to close this text box in Twilight Princess, not in My Nintendo Picross Legend of Zelda Twilight Princess for the 3DS. In the post light later on, the one that's much longer, it saves way more than 40 seconds, but it still runs into the same issue of risking the run to killing the run over something as small as just saving a little bit of time comparatively.
Yeah, early A-press is not something I even go for in PB attempts, unless I am really salty, I guess. But that doesn't usually happen. Last level here. I don't think we have a separate timer going on for this game, but if so, time is coming up.
I actually forgot to look at the timer when we started, and I thought you timed it on your phone, but it was something else. But yeah, salty run back of low percent is
there we go.
Thing.
And I believe that's even a Micross world record by 3 seconds.
Let's go!
So yeah, that is My Nintendo Picross The Legend of Zelda Twilight Princess for the Nintendo 3DS. It is a very long title, but a very short game. And we can switch back to the Wii footage, which is, we have like a few more minutes until we can press A.